Good morning, everyone. It is a nice, sunshiny morning here in Montreal. And I hope it's a wonderful day wherever you all are. I make sure that I had my coffee. I do. And yeah, so oh, here's a fuzzy boy. He wants to come up in my lap. I see it in his eyes. Thought it'd be fun hang out for a little bit early this morning before we all really woken up and gotten started. Look at the players. Oh yes. What? It didn't change. What? No. Yeah, that's what I want it to be. That's really weird. I don't know what's up with Twitch. Twitch is weird. Done. Yes. Go away. I'm annoying. Alright, reloading my page. Now I'm not logged in. No, that's so weird, Twitch. And now it's probably gonna like give you guys a whole bunch of sound. Oh no, I'm muted. Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't change the title. Video. First look at the player's handbook. Sorry for the thunder. Dungeons and Dragons. My wife is making fun of me. Dungeons and Dragons. Do I look sleepy? Yeah. That's because I haven't shaved. So I've got all this lovely, like, you know, gruff. Yeah. Totally. So, yeah, Player's Handbook. It's really nice. It's got a really nice cover. Very shiny. The front is entirely glossy. The back is like half glossy, half not. Let me see. Show that for you. Try twist in the reflection. Yeah, but you see how half of it is reflecting. There we go. Good demonstration. It's quite awesome. Thanks, Gray Impact. I didn't know that my morning face could play with people's sexuality, but hey. So Wizards Play Network stores get Wizards products early, like about a week early. So I got the starter set, or I saw that the local store got the starter set early, so I figured they were a Wizards Play Network store, so I pre-ordered from them, came in yesterday, or they were able to start selling it yesterday, and I grabbed it because awesome. Well met, 2D Soiger. So that's how I got it so soon. So you can go to your friendly local game store and ask them if they're a Wizards Play Network store, which they will be if they have like Adventurers League stuff for Dungeons and Dragons. Or shows. What if Nita wants to walk around naked there? Now she can, and she won't by anybody but me. Hi, Grota90. So yeah, like the first thing that I noticed on picking up the player's handbook is that it looks like something that anybody would be interested in looking at. Yeah, the message was wrong, Nyctosaurus. Something about like when I first go to edit the title of my broadcast and then I click done, it updates for me. But Twitch doesn't actually have me logged in, so it doesn't update for everybody else. And then when I go live, it logs me out and it switches to the incorrect previous message again. It's really annoying. Hey, Bayani. So, it's got all these little drawings like this all over the place. Just like a little cute drawing of some goblins and orcs hiding behind some dice. And that's fun. And it looks fun. And then, on every other page, there's this. some awesome, huge ass drawing in fantastic artwork here. I'll zoom in way close so you can see. Yeah, that's super cool. How awesome that is. And that's like kind of your standard high fantasy dramatic artwork. Like nobody would ever actually be in that situation in real life. And like, is that Archer up there gonna shoot at the dragon, or is she just shooting at the castle in the background? Like, what's going on? What are you doing, Archer? Really, we need to have a talk about your tactics. I don't think you're gonna roll a hit.
She's posing for.
Yeah, she's posing for the camera. How are the page quality? Ooh, let's actually bring out the Numenera book and look at the different page qualities. Have it right back here. Yeah, let me just take a quick look. Really, the paper is very similar. Feel of it's very similar. I think there's a little bit more gloss on. No, maybe there's just more ink. I think there's more ink on the Player's Handbook than there is on the Numenera book. So this is what Numenera. It's incredibly thick. Here's the difference between the Player's Handbook and the Numenera core book, right? Numenera, Player's Handbook. You can see the Numenera is like twice and change as thick. That's because it's like, you know, the Numenera core book is the entire everything you'd ever need to play, whereas the Player's Handbook is it's really just the player's book. The page quality is really very similar and quite high, quite a good page quality. Let's rip a page of each just to be sure they're similar. Yes. Yeah, Zipnox, she's shooting for hidden mist dragons. Absolutely. So, like, the most impressive thing for me on flipping through it is that I think anybody could flip through this book and just look at the pictures and come to the conclusion that this is a game they'd want to play. How many pages does it have? 300 and change? Got like 330, something like that. So, you know, I could flip through it and be like, Blammo. Yeah, I could want to be any of those characters. Sure, that looks cool. That looks kind of standard, you know, cellar of an inn or something like that, tavern room brawl sort of area. But then when you go to like the race pictures, oh, here's a really neat. Like that looks like something straight out of the Lord of the Rings almost. Like that elf in the center looks almost exactly like Liv Tyler to me. And then you've got sleeping. When we go to the races, the first race is such a super cool picture for the dwarf. And here it is, which maybe some of you have seen. That's the picture that they use for the dwarf. It's this badass looking dwarf woman who looks like she's gonna wreck your shit. It's fantastic. Which smells better. Ooh, let's do this. All right, for you guys, yeah. Here we go. Yeah, there's a little bit of fresh ink smell coming off of there. Oh yeah, no, the Player's Handbook includes everything you need to create any character from all of the races and all of the classes. So the core, the basic rules only include the fighter, wizard, rogue, and cleric, whereas there's like 18 classes, including the sorcerer and the warlock and all sorts of stuff. Let's see. The United States price, the U.S. price for the Numenera core book is $60. The U.S. price for the Player's Handbook is $50. So hang on, we gotta do the smell test. They smell very similar. I don't think that the system affects the smell too terribly much. So, yeah, back to the race pictures. So the dwarf picture is already super cool. Like, she looks like a badass. She doesn't look funny or silly or anything like that. So, you know, if I'm you know, a lady flipping through this book, all of a sudden, immediately, there's something where I can look at it and say, yeah, that looks like me, or that looks like something I can see myself being. Of course, for the elf, they chose this fantastic badass here, and actually the subtext down there. Let me just swing it in front of the camera. I don't think you can read it. It says Drizzt Do'Urden, of course. And then later in the elf section, they've got this, which is more of like what I usually expect when I look for like the representation of the elves. The halfling is super cool because it's just this little female halfling rocking out with her lute. She's like totally rocking out. Look at that. She's like, yeah! It's awesome. The human, also really cool. Like, when I think of what sort of image they're going to use to represent a human, I think about me. Like, yeah, stalwart white dude. Awesome. Hey, what's that in my Dungeons and Dragons book as the representation of a human? It's a black chick. That's cool. And again, she looks like a total badass. And she's standing in front of some kind of house that's maybe on fire. Maybe because she's defending it, or maybe it's like a forge or something. Everything about it looks totally cool. The Dragonborn, again, like they just went through and were like, make every image of the races be a badass. Make all of them be a total badass. Yeah, the human does look a little bit like a cleric, and we'll get to the cleric pretty soon. The gnome is also cool, because the first image that comes to my mind when I think of gnomes is some like dorky old man with like Coke bottle glasses sitting in front of a tinker's bench with like some stupid little toy in front of him that's like exploding or something like that. And here's the image that they use for the gnome. It's like some lady gnome who's totally about to shoot some sucker with her bow. And that's very fun. And then they've got the tinker over here, but he's demurely posed away from the camera. You don't get to see his Coke bottle glasses. Hey, Small Fry, we just started talking about the Player's Handbook. We're going to do that for another 13 minutes or so, and then fire up some Witcher. The half-elf almost looks like what I would normally think of as the human. He's just, some upstanding, stalwart dude in front of a glorious white city. This city looks very like Plains from Magic the Gathering to me. It evokes a very plain. My wife tends to play male characters, and my best friend almost always plays female. Prefer not to have them feel that they are sex traitors. Yeah. But the book is good for showing you can play whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Here's the half-orc. Total badass. That looks pretty standard half-orky. I like that. The tiefling. Again, quite badass looking. Pretty standard tiefling-esque. Oh man. Koibu's chat. Hello, Koibu chat. Koibu chat is best chat. Or is it nicest chat? I forget. And then so we get into the classes chapter, and here's the cover image for the classes chapter. Just this totally awesome scene of battle against goblins, I guess? Yeah, look like goblins to me. And you can see like a number of different class roles there. The barbarian looks very standard barbarian. The neat thing about each class is that within the first 3 levels, you choose something super specific. So like you're not just a barbarian. At level 3, you choose to either become a primal path barbarian, and that gives you, a path of the berserker barbarian, which gives you a stronger rage. Or the path of the totem warrior, where you choose like a spirit totem, either the bear, the eagle, or the wolf. And at various levels, those different totems give you different things. So like the bear At third level, you gain resistance to all damage except for psychic damage. The spirit of the bear makes you like really, really strong. I really like the bard art, and we were talking. I think I talked about this with Adam. I don't know if I talked about it on the show. Here's the bard art, and like, can anybody tell me, like, is that a man or a woman? Because like, there's not really any clear sexual characteristics on the picture. He or she looks very androgynous. I think that her face looks a little more feminine, but her hips are very narrow, so it's not like she has a really traditional feminine figure or anything like that. I mean, he or she is very slender, but so am I. So I think that's super cool. And he or she also looks like a total badass. No. Like, take a really close look. Look at it again. That looks like, yeah, maybe there are boobs under there, but maybe it's actually just a fold in his shirt. Look at the width of his waist compared with the width of his shoulders. Like, that is not a feminine body shape at all. It's a masculine body shape. It's a slender body shape, but it's masculine. The face is pretty feminine, but the haircut is short. The face is really just kind of delicate. I think the eyebrows being sort of carefully shaped give it a more feminine cast than anything else. You know, lots of people are immediately saying, "Hey, it's definitely a woman," but the more I look at it, the less clear it is, which is very interesting. So the bard at level 3, they choose a bardic college, and they either choose the College of Lore, which is all about like knowing things. So like at third level, you get proficiency with 3 skills of your choice. So you're just like more proficient because you know more things. Or you can join the College of Valor, and at level 3 in the College of Valor, you gain proficiency with medium armor, shields, and martial weapons. Yeah, Penguin 421 has it. I think it is intentionally meant to be ambiguous, which is super cool that they put a character in the book that's intentionally meant to be an ambiguous gender. Thanks, Mintar. Hey guys, how's Neil doing? Yeah, it might be easier to see if you had the book instead of me holding it up in front of the camera like all the time. In fact, let me just do this. You guys have position, size. Blah! Whoa! Good morning. The cleric, very standard cleric looking guy. Oh yeah, cleric. Heel's making mistakes. Yep. But it's not about making mistakes, right? It's about playing as many games within a week as possible. So the cleric, you get to choose a domain, and I think you choose that at level 1 actually. So it's interesting to me how, like, I thought at first that everybody chose their differentiator at level 3. It's not true. The cleric chooses theirs at level 1. So does the sorcerer. I think there's something that chooses it at level 2. Yeah. So the cleric chooses a domain. And there's the knowledge domain, and your domain adds a couple of spells that you don't normally have access to. And I think you can cast them without expending a spell slot. Let's see. Knowledge domain spells. Domain spells. Each domain has a list of spells, its domain spells, that you gain at the cleric levels noted in the domain description. Once you gain a domain spell, you always have it prepared, and it doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare each day. So yeah. Yeah, EGD Phoenix. So domains, the domain of knowledge. Like, you have all sorts of ways of divining extra information or knowing more things. Yeah, there's a hottie. Nita likes one of the clerics. I actually was flipping through it, and I came to this picture and I said, "Oh, Nita, you should totally see this cleric because I think you would like him." The life domain is all about healing, and you get like super OP healing from being a life domain. The light domain cleric Yeah, it's like all about fire and daylight and radiance, which is super cool. And here's what I think they've put in the book as an example of the light domain cleric. Yeah, that guy. Like, that's pretty hot. I think so. He's got like glowing runes all over his armor, and he's wearing black armor, and he looks pretty battle scarred. Smexy clerics right here. Yeah, absolutely. You can play a cleric and be a hottie. What class do I like the most at first glance of reading? I love them all, actually. I think that all of the options for all of the classes are super cool. Nature domain, Tempest domain, which is all about like storm and weather manipulation. Trickery domain, which is like you get charm person and disguise self as your first level spells. War domain, which is badass. Then the druid. Yep. Very cool. The druid chooses at level 2. They choose a druidic circle. So they choose the circle of the land, which is like which one is that one? The circle of the land is about spells. So you choose a specific type of land, like the coast or the forest or the mountain, and then you gain extra spells for those, and you like much like the wizard, you can recover spell slots with a short rest instead of needing a long rest to get them all back. So it pushes the druid in the direction of being a full spellcaster, whereas the circle of the moon pushes the druid in the direction of being more of a shapeshifter. And you can shapeshift and use your shapeshifted form in combat more aggressively. The fighter is actually really cool. I like what they've done with the fighter. Here's the picture for the fighter. Fantastic. Awesome stuff. But you can choose, you've got 3 choices for the fighter. Well, first of all, at the first level, you choose a fighting style, and you can choose from archery, defense, dueling, great weapon fighting, protection, and 2-weapon fighting. And each of those is just sort of like, that's the way that you fight, and it's super cool. And it gives you bonuses for fighting like that. And then you choose a martial archetype. And a champion is like the super simple, I don't really want to think about things, I just want to be able to deal a lot of damage fighter. It increases your critical hit range from 20 to 19 to 20, and then 18 to 20 at 15th level. Or you can choose the Battle Master, who's like the old leaders. What was the name of the class in 4th edition that was all about like positioning people on the battlefield and moving them around? The Battle Master gains something called superiority dice, which let you do special maneuvers. And here's the list of maneuvers. Like all this whole page, there's like 15 maneuvers or something like that, 10 to 15, and they're all really cool. Like let's see, trip attack. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can expend 1 superiority die to attempt to knock the target down. You add the superiority die to the attack's damage roll, and if the target is large or smaller, it must make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, you knock it prone. Neat. So it gives you all these extra little maneuvers you can do in combat. And then the third fighter category is the Eldritch Knight, and you can learn spells of level 1st through 4th from the Wizard's spellbook, or wizard from the wizard's spell list, that are either the abjuration or evocation spell school. So it's all about defense and offense. At 7th level, you can make a weapon attack as a bonus action when you cast a cantrip. So you can like cast a cantrip on your weapon and then hit them with it. Stuff like that. The monk is super cool. Is there anything about multiple characters overpowering a large enemy or something? I would run that as like a couple characters trying to help, like using their action to help one character try to grapple. Something like that I think would work. Here's the monk image, which is very monkly, I think. Her hair is long and flowing, which isn't necessarily what I would envision when I see a monk, but I think it works very well for the image that they've chosen. Um, you have ki as a monk, and you use it to empower your unarmed strikes. You can spend ki points in order to take extra little maneuvers as well. And then you can choose the way of the open hand, which is all about like, um, what do? It boosts your flurry of blows, and it gives you like quivering palm, things like that. You can choose the way of the shadow, which lets you like, yeah, at sixth level you gain the ability to step from one shadow into another. When you're in dim light or darkness, as a bonus action, you can teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space. You can see that is also in dim light or darkness. So sick. So sick. Super sick. And then there's the way of the four elements, which is like you choose an elemental discipline, and then you begin you become able to like cast spells through your kung fu. So like the Fist of Four Thunders, you can spend 2 ki points to cast Thunder Wave. Or Sweeping Cinder Strike, you can spend 2 ki points to cast Burning Hands. Wave of Rolling Earth, you can spend 6 ki points to cast Wall of Stone. Super cool. I think that's super neat. The Paladin. Even the Paladin is cool. I've always thought the Paladin is kind of, it's kind of a pretty basic class, just like, upright, loyal dude, like, haha, evildoers. Yes, yeah, you can basically become a bender from Avatar, which is really cool. The Paladin. And here's the Paladin. They chose a really interesting picture for the Paladin, I think. Look at that badass half-orc Paladin sitting there with that shield to, what is it? 4? Arm? I'm forgetting the god's name. I'm sorry, guys. I'm losing that one. So at second level, you choose a fighting style, just like the fighter does. You only get the choices of defense, dueling, great weapon fighting, or protection. And then you also choose a sacred oath. You can take an oath of devotion, which is like the standard paladin. You get protection from good and evil, sanctuary, lesser restoration. You can channel divinity in order to like make your weapon a sacred weapon and turn undead. You can take the Oath of the Ancients, which makes you a paladin that's in service of like, of the natural world. You're a paladin who's protecting nature, basically. Like as your channel divinity, you get something called Nature's Wrath. You can use your channel divinity to invoke primeval forces to ensnare a foe. As an action, you can cause spectral vines to spring up and reach for a creature within 10 feet of you that you can see. Yeah. And then, the last one, that's what it is, Jane Crow. The Warlord. The fighter, one of the fighter's options basically make you be a warlord, because you can like manipulate the battlefield and move people around and sacrifice your attack to have somebody else make an attack and stuff like that. Yeah, Harmful Gravemind, I'm going to upload this as a special episode to YouTube. The last paladin one is the Oath of Vengeance. And then you become this sort of like, you're using fire to fight fire sort of paladin. You get the 3rd level spells Bane and Hunter's Mark, 5th level Hold Person and Misty Step. The tenets of vengeance are fight the greater evil. Faced with a choice of fighting my sworn foes or combating a lesser evil, I choose the greater evil. No mercy for the wicked. Ordinary foes might win my mercy, but my sworn enemies do not. By any means necessary, my qualms can't get in the way of exterminating my foes. That's an awesome paladin. Yes! Vengeful paladins who just hunt down their enemies and murder them in their sleep. Sick. 9, we haven't gotten to the Warlock yet. We'll be there soon. I'm going to go through all the classes, and then we'll switch over to The Witcher 2, because I do want to play some of that today. The Ranger. Moving on. That's a super cool picture for the Ranger. I love the background there, too. Done a good job with that. I'm really excited about this, guys. I love D&D. It's so fun because it's like writing a story with your friends, and You make it the coolest story because you care about it. And it's not even a good story, right? Like probably most D&D stories, including mine, are kind of crappy as like a story written in a book, but it's fun because you care. So Rangers, they're pretty standard. You choose a favorite enemy, and then you get advantage to track them. You learn one language of your choice that's spoken by your favorite enemies. And you gain another one at level 6 and level 14, so you add to the people that you are favored against. You gain spells, because Rangers always had spell casting slots from like 2nd edition, and that's super cool. I think there's actually a separate spell list. I Pugsy. We'll get up real close. It's morning. Oh, you couldn't even really hear me. Okay, enough. Hey, play the Secret World. Yeah. Roto Nuts, what do you mean about specialty clerics? Because the clerics have different domains that they choose, and then they become very different from each other by choosing a domain. Fighting style. You choose a fighting style as a ranger. All of the classes that have like really strong combat, they choose a fighting style. So for rangers, it's archery, +2 bonus on attack rolls with ranged weapons. Defense, +1 to armor class. Dueling, so when you're wielding 2 weapons, you get a +2 bonus to damage rolls. Oh no, dueling is not dual wielding. Sorry, that's 2-weapon fighting. Dueling is when you're wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons. You get a +2 bonus to damage rolls. And 2-weapon fighting is you can add your ability modifier to the damage of the second attack that you make, which is good, because normally you don't get to do that. So you get spell slots. And then the 2 choices that you make, you choose to either be a hunter or a beast master. So a hunter is like, you accept your place as the bulwark between civilization and the terrors of the wilderness. Yeah, 1-weapon fighting style, Larry. That's pretty much what it is. And there's all sorts of cool little things that you get to choose as hunters. You get these extra little maneuvers. So at 3rd level, you get to choose Colossus Slayer, Giant Killer, or Horde Breaker. So Colossus Slayer lets you deal extra damage to creatures that are already injured. That's pretty cool. Giant Killer is like for creatures that are large or larger. When they miss you, you can immediately attack them after they miss as a reaction. So you're better at fighting giants. Horde Breaker is like if you're fighting hordes of creatures. Let's see. Once on each of your turns, when you make a weapon attack, you can make another attack with the same weapon against a different creature that is within 5 feet of the original target and within range of your weapon. So you just get to attack 2 people in front of you instead of 1 people. So that's neat. It gives you all sorts of weird little choices you get to make to customize the way that you fight your enemies. And then the second option for the ranger is the beast master, and you get an animal companion that gets training, and it's like what kind of animals? Ranger's companion. Right, choose a beast that is no larger than medium and that has a challenge rating of 1/4 or lower. Appendix D presents statistics for the hawk, mastiff, and panther as examples. Yeah. The beast obeys your commands as best as it can. It takes turn on your initiative, though it doesn't take an action unless you command it to. On your turn, you can verbally command the beast where to move. You can use your action to verbally command it to take the attack, dash, disengage, dodge, or help action. Whoa! That means you can use your beast to just help you, and you can always have advantage on your attacks. That's awesome. Sick. It seems really easy to use your animal companion, because it's like in standard D&D. It's just another monster that you get to sort of control. Nine, Drizzt Do'Urden is clearly a dual-wielding ranger, hunter, horde breaker. Awesome. Yeah, rangers are definitely not just meh fighters. They're actually really interesting and unique. What I really like about 5th edition so far is that each of the classes seems quite good in all of its roles, but also very unique and distinct from all of the other classes. The rogue fights really differently than a fighter fights. The wizard is just as potent in combat as a fighter, but in a really different way. So it's really cool. The rogue is super neat also. Here's the image for the rogue. Again, you can sort of look at that, and I just noticed this while looking at it now. He has a very masculine face, but like, are these boobs? Is this a feminine body type associated with this rogue here? In fact, maybe the face is not quite as masculine, but like it's a little hard to tell if that's supposed to be a man or a woman, which is neat. Roguish archetypes. Thief, assassin, or arcane trickster. So the thief is like all about burglary and like, yeah, fast hands. Starting at 3rd level, you can make a bonus action to make a dexterity sleight of hand check. Use your thieves' tools to disarm a trap or open a lock, or take the use an object action. Awesome. 2nd story work. You can climb faster. When you make a running jump, the distance you cover increases by a number of feet equal to your dexterity modifier. You're just like, you're kind of like a rooftop thief, which is super cool. There's actually a character like that in the Malazan Book of the Fallen that I'm reading right now. Then, EGD Phoenix, the Arcane Trickster, is a very JP class. I think so. Yeah, Jane Crow, the worst part about being a DM is not being able to play all these awesome classes. It really is. I want to read you guys, Valen87, based on that comment. I want to read you guys what the Player's Handbook says about gender. I think it's in here, but it's a really neat blurb that I really like. I appreciate it. So the 2nd roguish archetype is the assassin. You're a straight up murderer for hire. Assassinate. At 3rd level, you're at your deadliest when you get the drop on your enemies. You have advantage on attack rolls against any creature that hasn't taken a turn in the combat yet. In addition, any hit you score against a creature that is surprised is a critical hit. Holy cow. That is really strong. And then you get like all sorts of extra things later on. Infiltration, expertise, imposter, death strike. Yeah, cool. The Arcane Trickster gets a couple spell levels. He can learn spells of levels 1st through 4th. And you get this like mage hand that you can like do all sorts of thiefly things with. So you can cast your mage hand and like put something in someone's pocket, take something out of someone's pocket, pick locks and disarm traps. And then you like magical ambush at level 9. If you're hidden from a creature when you cast a spell on it, the creature has disadvantage on any saving throw it makes against the spell. So yeah, totally cool. Yeah. You gain your spells from the wizard's spell list. So there's lots of stuff in there that you can use. Just like choose all the illusion spells and like you're an amazing thief. The Sorcerer. This is probably one of the most badass pieces of art in the book. Here it is. I think that is super cool. The background with like, what is that sticking out of the ice? Like swords or something sticking out of the ice. Mountains and the glowing of the blue, and then this sorcerer, and like, is that fire or is it sand? That's super cool. So sorcerers shape raw magic that's in their blood, and there's 2 origins for sorcerers. One is a draconic sorcerer. You're a draconic bloodline sorcerer, and you get like a damage type based on the color of the dragon that's in your ancestry. You get draconic resilience. Eventually, you can choose to sprout dragon wings and fly. Cool. Or you're a wild mage. And here's your Wild Magic Surges page. Yeah, roll a D100. See what craziness happens. It's a little bit strange. I want to figure out a little bit more about it, but what I think it is like, it says Wild Magic Surge immediately after you cast a sorcerer spell of 1st level or higher, so not cantrips. The DM can have you roll a d20. If you roll a 1, roll on the Wild Magic Surge table to create a random magical effect. Okay, but when does the DM choose to have you roll a d20? The next thing in the book is Tides of Chaos. Starting at first level, you can manipulate the forces of chaos, chance, and chaos to gain advantage on one attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. Once you do so, you must finish a long rest before you can use the feature again. Anytime before you regain the use of this feature, the DM can have you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table immediately after you cast a sorcerer spell of first level or higher. You then regain the use of this feature, so the DM can just sort of be like, hey, roll a Wild Magic Surge to regain your ability to give yourself advantage. So a surge. Let's see. 17 to 18. You grow a long beard made of feathers that remains until you sneeze, at which point the feathers explode out from your face. 75 to 76. You glow with bright light in a 30-foot radius for the next minute. Any creature that ends its turn within 5 feet of you is blinded until the end of its next turn. Cool. 99 to 100. You regain all expended sorcery points. So, a sorcerer gains what are called sorcery points. You can expend your sorcery points to gain additional spell slots, or convert a spell slot into sorcery points. At 3rd level, you gain something called meta magic, which is, it's something that's been in previous editions as like feats and stuff. Only the sorcerer gets it now. You can spend sorcery points to empower your spell, increase the range of your spell, protect some of the creatures within the spell's area of effect, quicken the spell. It's super cool. So it seems like the sorcerer, like, spells aren't static things for the sorcerer. Spells are things that the sorcerer constantly sort of shapes and bends and manipulates because it's a natural magic. The Warlock. Here's the Warlock. Blah. I don't know about that art personally. Like, you know, it doesn't speak to me, but I can see how it could speak to some people. I love that she has like a little albino lizard strapped to her dress. Can you guys see that down there? Sort of at her waist. That's super cool. So the Warlock chooses an otherworldly patron at level 1. And you choose to serve either the Archfey, and the Archfey is, you know, some ancient elven god of sorts. Not even elven, you know, a god of the Feywild, I guess. So you gain spells like Fairy Fire, Sleep, Plant Growth, Dominate Beast. That's really neat. The Fiend is the second otherworldly patron, and that gives you like Burning Hands, Scorching Ray, Fireball, Stinking Cloud, very sort of, you know, devilish spells. And then the last one is the Great Old One, which is basically Cthulhu. Like, you serve Cthulhu. And you get Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Detect Thoughts, Phantasmal Force, Evard's Black Tentacles. Those are the spells that you gain for serving the Great Old One. And then you get to make another choice at level 3. You choose a Pact boon. You choose either the Pact of the Chain, which gives you a familiar. And instead of the normal forms for your familiar, you can also choose an imp, a pseudo-dragon, a quasit, or a sprite. That's cool. Or you can choose the Pact of the Blade, which lets you create a pact weapon in your empty hand. So you choose, like, you create a melee weapon that is magical. Or you can create the Pact of the Tome. Choose the Pact of the Tome, sorry. And that's where your patron gives you a grimoire called the Book of Shadows. And when you gain this feature, you choose 3 cantrips from any class's spell list. While the book is on your person, you can cast those cantrips at will. So that's neat. Cool. You get some spells. You get these extra spells from serving one of your patrons, and you get this extra feature from your Pact boon. But you also get something else. You get something called Eldritch Invocations. So, like, at 4th level, you know 5 spells. You have 2 spell slots. And, what are your spell slots? Yeah, all of your spell slots are the same level. So at level 4, you have 2 spell slots. They're both second level. So you can't cast that many spells, but you also know 2 Eldritch invocations. So like one of them is Armor of Shadows. You can cast Mage Armor on yourself at will without expending a spell slot or material components. You just get it. Eldritch Spear. When you cast Eldritch Blast, its range is 300 feet. That's huge. Gaze of Two Minds. You can use your action to touch a willing humanoid and perceive through its senses until the end of your next turn. Super cool. There's all sorts of wicked, wild stuff. If you have the Pact of the Tome, you can now inscribe rituals in your Book of Shadows and cast it. If you have the Pact of the Chain, you can cast Hold Monster at Celestials, Fiends, or Elementals at 15th level. And at the Pact of the Blade, you can attack with your pact weapon twice instead of once whenever you take the attack action on your turn. Just really neat. Are there non-combat advancements for classes? Let's see. There's some of them. Like the Barbarian gets one ability that lets him see like a mile into the distance. What else? I mean, you can sort of use a bunch of these in non-combat situations as well. Beguiling Darkness. You're immune to being charmed, and when another creature attempts to charm you, you can use your reaction to attempt to turn the charm back on that creature. I don't think charm is really a combat action, because charm really just gives you advantage on charisma checks against that creature. So it's not like commanding, right? They're just charmed. The Wizard, the best class. Here he is. There's the Wizard. And this is the last one, and then we'll go on to The Witcher 2. The Wizard is super simple. Other classes have like new things or multiple new things at every level. Here's the advancement list for the Wizard. It's just, arcane tradition features and ability score improvements. That's it. And the Wizard, of course, the feature that you choose for yourself is you choose to make yourself you choose an arcane tradition. So you choose the school of wizardry. So the Abjuration Wizard is all about protecting themselves and others. The Conjuration Wizard is all about summoning things or creating things. The School of Divination Wizard is all about finding things out. When you cast a divination spell of second level or higher using a spell slot, you regain 1 expended spell slot. So like, again, many of these are combat related, but like divination isn't really a combat thing. So you can become a wizard that's entirely focused on spells that are not really combat related spells. Enchantment, evocation. Now that's your blaster wizard. That's your war wizard pretty much. Evocation spells are brutal. As an evocation wizard at 14th level, you gain a feature called Overchannel. You can cast a wizard spell of 5th level or lower, and when it deals damage, you can choose to deal maximum damage. And then you have to take a long rest before you do it again, or if you do it again, you take 2d12 necrotic damage for each level of the spell you've just cast. So you can sort of like spend your own life energy in order to make your spells more powerful. The School of Illusion, the School of Necromancy, super cool. The School of Transmutation, I think, is probably my favorite thing in the book. At level 6, you can create a Transmuter's Stone. Oh, interesting that they called it the Transmuter's Stone instead of the Philosopher's Stone. Yeah, you can create a Philosopher's Stone that stores transmutation magic. You can create it and choose the following benefit: Dark Vision out to a range of 60 feet, an increase of speed of 10 feet while the creature's unencumbered, proficiency in Constitution saving throws. As long as any creature holds this stone in their possession, then it gains one of these benefits. But the coolest thing is, at level 14, you can use your action to consume the reserve of transmutation action. Oh god. You can use your action to consume the reserve of transmutation magic stored within your transmuter stone in a single burst. When you do, you can create a major transformation to transmute one object into another object. You can create a panacea to remove all curses, diseases, and poisons. You can use it to restore life and basically cast the Raise Dead spell on a creature you touch with it. Or you can restore youth. You touch the transmuter stone to a willing creature, and that creature's apparent age is reduced by 3d10 years to a minimum of 13 years. This effect doesn't extend the creature's lifespan. So that's just like super cool, weird, awesome non-combat uses of a core feature of a class. And that's really neat. And then we move on to personality and background, which we will not cover here today. So that's all for my super excited review of the Player's Handbook for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Gonna move that back there. Yep, that. Yeah, there we go. Now then, I'm gonna put this back. We're gonna go to the splash screen. I'm gonna start up the game, and we're gonna get started with The Witcher 2. If you're wondering where you can get the Player's Handbook now, Wizards Play Network local game stores. So your friendly local game store may be involved in something called the Wizards Play Network, and those have received their shipment of the Player's Handbook early, and they'll probably do the same for the Monsters Manual and the Dungeon Master Guide. Oh yeah. Laraki 15 is pointing out the cool thing about the way that the Player's Handbook talks about sex and let me see if I can actually find that in. No, it's time to game. Maybe it's in the very next chapter. Yeah, sex. You can play a male or female character without gaining any special benefits or hindrances. Think about how your character does or does not conform to the broader culture's expectations of sex, gender, and sexual behavior. For example, a male drow cleric defies the traditional gender divisions of drow society, which could be a reason for your character to leave that society and come to the surface. You don't need to be confined to binary notions of sex and gender. The elf god Corellon the Wrathian is often seen as androgynous or hermaphroditic, for example, and some elves in the multiverse are made in Corellon's image. You could also play a female character who presents herself as a man who feels trapped in a female body, or a bearded female dwarf who hates being mistaken for a male. Likewise, your character's sexual orientation is for you to decide. Yeah, Laraki 15, thanks. Like that's a super cool thing that they put in there just to reinforce the messaging from their pictures and communicate to everybody who's reading the book, hey, Dungeons & Dragons is for you. Hi, Kiesu. All right, we're going to start up The Witcher 2.